It's day 2 of the BRICS Summit, and leaders have just addressed that summit. The forum is part of a 3-day summit that's underway in Johannesburg, Sandton. For more on this, we cross to Arabile Gumede. Good afternoon, Arabile. We've heard from Michel Temer, Vladimir Putin, Narendra Modi, and more. Take us through what else has happened today.
Yeah, of course, the 5 leaders, they are indeed beginning to sound very coherent in their speech, as you saw as well. That was the media round room as well. But earlier on, as you said, the 5 leaders of the BRICS nations really speaking about collaboration and ensuring that they continue to move with one message. And it's probably one of the very few summits, the BRICS Summit that is, that has finally come together and seeing a sense of cohesion as well. But let's unpack that a whole lot more as well. Mr. Dubase, thank you so much for joining us. Manelisi, it's been a BRICS summit that you can clearly tell is now one of a succinct and clear message from all the leaders wanting sort of a similar thing despite their divergence in policies at home.
No, absolutely, you are right. I mean, the theme here has been very clear. Economic cooperation, investment and development. I mean, that has been broadly the theme.
Yeah.
And what is more important, in fact, here is that the BRICS is starting, as you just rightly said, to be coherent, I mean, in terms of what they want to achieve. And it becomes a very, very crucial global platform. I mean, for entity like BRICS with its development bank, which has from its inception up to now has approved loans of up to $5.1 billion for 16 projects, very crucial projects. For instance, here in South Africa, you talk about entities such as Eskom, Transnet benefiting from these loans. What is even crucially important, if you juxtapose it with the World Bank and the IMF, is that what they have decided to do now is that they will be borrowing or giving these loans in local currencies,
yeah.
Which means what they are doing effectively is that they are eliminating risks of exchange rate fluctuations, which sometimes...
And putting the US to bed in some sense at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
And that sense of trade war continues.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they have no choice because, as we have probably have heard, Minister Davis yesterday saying that the first shots of this global trade tariff war has been short. I mean, yesterday President Trump met at the White House with the president of the European Union,
yeah.
Mr. Juncker,
yeah.
and he sort of, step back a little bit from, his previous, threats of extending these tariffs to his allies like Europe. But you'll never know when we arrive, when we left here, which Twitter we are going to read this afternoon. So
it changes day to day with President Donald Trump.
I mean, it's a nightmare for policy makers and for governments. So it is very crucial that the BRICS nation, and this is one thing that I have personally, underlined here, is that they are trying to move away from relying on trade, especially with the United States at this point in time. Minister Davis was saying that even the benefits that we are getting through AGOA, I mean, right now, I mean, they are at risk because even these steel tariffs that are imposed on China, effectively they are affecting our own steel industry.
Yeah.
So we're in a unpredictable world. So these BRICS nations, they are trying to pave their own way, whereby they can chart their own course, at their own pace, with their own resources, which is a good thing, I think.
Let's talk about Vladimir Putin's role in all of this, though. He kind of, it almost seems as though he has to play quite a few sides at the same time. He's trying to be a leader in some sense to the United States, having cooperation with them, speaking to them, and really maintaining a clear perspective to say, we're still open for business, etc. But at the same time, with the BRICS nations having an issue with the trade war in the United States, how does he sit on the fence on this one? Is his role not very critical as well to how the BRICS nations and that trade war moves forward as well?
I think he's a very, very brilliant leader. I mean, look, the United States has left the stage. I mean, there's a vacuum there. President Putin is trying to balance that because he's got what we don't know on Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump has never criticized Mr. Putin in public, even with the noise from the Capitol Hill. He has never criticized me. And Mr. Trump has moved away from the multilateral systems, either trade, either the United Nations, you name them. And Mr. Putin is coming in as a man, as a reasonable man in the middle, you know, who can pull the whole world together. So
that sort of shifts the world powers, though, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The US used to be in the middle in some sense. Now it just seems like Russia is smack bang in the middle of all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember some time ago, Arabile, you know, where just before these elections in the US, I mean, many observers in the US have realized this, and they've realized that between China and Russia, they are trying their best to occupy that stage which the US has left. I mean, it used to be at the center stage of everything, either economy, politics, and everything. But Mr. Donald Trump have taken a 180-degree turn, and nobody, even in the United States, knows what Mr. Trump will be thinking by the end of today.
Very quickly, we are running out of time, but multilateralism involves ensuring that the needs of all parties are served, and especially with this summit. Do you feel that we're going to have to give in order to get a lot more out of this?
Well, absolutely. Look, we have huge natural resources, minerals and otherwise, you know, where, and China needs those, and other countries need those resources. But we need investment also. You know that President Ramaphosa is having this ambitious project of attracting about 100 billion US dollars, or almost over R1 trillion or 3 trillion rand in the next 5 years. So there will be a give and take in all these processes, you know, and then within this BRICS Commission, the nations cooperation.
Well.
And I mean, if you have heard President Cyril Ramaphosa, he doesn't want us to move alone.
Yes, he wants us to move with the
continent as a whole, because there are also very, very many advantages in this continent in terms of...
We'll certainly need to unpack that continental issue as well, and taking Africa with us. BRICS in Africa, talking about prosperity and inclusive growth amidst the fourth industrial revolution. That is the theme for the 10th BRICS Summit here at the Sandton Convention Center. We'll be back with just a little bit more from Nompumelelo and Nzinga right after